Femi comes to Lagos, he builds, boom, he buys a land in Ikyoi, he builds 40 apartments and sold each one for like $1 million, each one. As I'm talking to you right now, in fact, this morning, Femi sends me a video. He's building, I think, 3 towers together on Alexander. If you know Ikyoi, 3 towers together on Alexander. One is 14 floors, one is 16 floors, one is 21 floors.
In 2021, a luxury high-rise in one of Nigeria's wealthiest neighborhoods came crashing down like a house of cards. Dozens were buried in the rubble, including the man behind it all, Femi Osibona. A man who went from selling ties in Nigeria and then shoes on the streets of London to building towers in Lagos. But as the dust settled, so did the truth. Messy, incomplete, and filled with more questions than answers. Was it ambition? Was it negligence? Or was it something far more sinister? This isn't just a story about concrete and steel. It's about ego, faith, corruption, and the terrifying cost of ignoring red flags in a country where buildings fall and no one takes the blame. This is the story of Femi Osibona, how he flew too close to the sun and lost his own life. Or so we're told. This is either the story of one of the greatest real estate tragedies in Nigeria or the biggest conspiracy theory and real estate heist in history. You decide. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Femi Osibona, aka Fourscore. This man's story is like something out of a Nollywood script, mixed with a bit of Suits and just a sprinkle of Mission Impossible at the end. It all started when he was a young guy from Ikyoi in Ogun State, Nigeria. Regular background. He went to Mayflower School, solid foundation. Then one day, he packs his bags and moves to London. Like many of our uncles and cousins, chasing that greener pasture dream, probably with 200 pounds and pure vibes. Here's where it gets good. One would think that his life turned around the moment he got to London. Greener pastures, Abby? Well, you couldn't be further from the truth. You see, he didn't start out slinging $1 million homes or throwing around architectural jargon. A guy was selling shoes on the streets of London. Shoes. A real hustler. And as low as this was for him at the time, it was even a step up because before then, while he was still in Nigeria, a man was into ties.
This guy used to sell shirt and tie in Abuja. I just told you he supplied. He didn't even have the shirt and tie. He went to others to get for me during that crisis journey.
I guess the entrepreneurial dream had been in him for the longest time. And little by little, it was about to pay off. Big time. From all of this, he tied himself to a bigger dream. Real estate. And bro didn't play small. He delved in headfirst into the industry, made some connections, and decided to become one of the best real estate developers in African history. So after a while, he started developing actual properties in London. Not just flipping homes in Peckham or doing B&Bs. No, he built a whole 7-story building in East London. First African to do it at the time. And he built some more.
Built 12 apartments in London. Built 12 apartments in London. If you know London, if you know a part called Hackney, there's a part of Hackney called London Fields. He built 12 apartments there, sold 8.
Just so you know, this was no easy task. The British planning system is no joke. If you breathe even the wrong way, they'll fine you. Yet Femi finessed it. Now this would be enough for any man to hang up his boots and start giving in to the good life. But Femi didn't just want the good life. He wanted more. So much more. So Femi took the hustle global. In South Africa, he built multiple luxury apartments around Johannesburg. We're talking high-end pads in places where the Wi-Fi is faster than your thoughts. And then he dipped into the United States too. The man was spreading like MTN network. UK, US, South Africa. At this point, any sane person would sit down and chill. live off rental income, do TED Talks, maybe buy a yacht, but not Femi. No, he looked back home at Nigeria and said, let me come home and build something epic in Lagos. Something the mainland people will only hear about. Enter 4 homes, his big baby, his empire, his magnum opus, his chance to bring all that international experience and drop it like it's hot in Ikyoi, Lagos, the Beverly Hills of Niger. The idea? 360-degree towers, 3 skyscrapers so fine they'd make Banana Island jealous. Honestly, that return, it was meant to be the ultimate homecoming. Like when a champion boxer returns with the belt, but instead of a smooth victory lap, well, things got messy. Real messy. We'll get there. You see all these great achievements. It's easy to imagine that Femi was not alone, and you'd be right to assume that. In fact, he had the dream team behind him. And I'm not talking real estate-wise. This guy had a circle so tight it looked like a prayer chain mixed with a real estate mastermind group. First off, let's talk about Pastor Matthew Ashimolowo. Yes, the Kingsway International Christian Center, KICC founder, a big dog in the church world. Femi was close to him, like Sunday front row close. These weren't just high pastor God bless you vibes. Nah, these were, Pastor, come and bless the land I'm about to build 24 floors on levels. And you could tell faith wasn't just decoration for Femi. It was central to his blueprint. The man was always dropping by the grace of God and walking into rooms like angels with his security detail. His confidence was simply unshakable. Some would say delusional. Others would say divinely bold. Either way, you had to respect the conviction. He once said in an interview, I don't believe in failure, because with God, I cannot fail. Now, that's either deep revelation or high level of self-assurance. You decide. But this wasn't just about religion. Femi had access to power, like VIP wristband at a political party power. Word on the street? He was rubbing shoulders with some of the big boys in Lagos, and probably beyond. And really, when you're building multi-billion naira towers in Ikyoi, you don't do that with just Google Maps and prayer points. He knew people. People who knew people. Political figures, government officials, regulators, and definitely folks in real estate circles. Some were rooting for him, some were whispering behind closed doors. But for certain, all eyes were watching. And maybe, just maybe, that same circle is where his story starts to get murky. Remember when I said it's like he eventually flew too close to the sun? Let's get into that. It all started with the aforementioned 360-degree towers. It was a special project, ahead of its time, and would rival almost any other building in Africa. The plan was not 1, not 2, but 3 towering skyscrapers in the heart of Ikyoi, aka where Lagos goes to wear designer slippers and call it casual. This wasn't just a real estate project. It was a statement, a flex, a whole movement. No surprise there really. Femi never did anything small. As usual, it wasn't your average block of flats. No. He wanted luxury on luxury. We're talking rooftop pools, ocean view penthouses, elevators that whispered, "Good morning, sir." These towers were meant to scream world class, louder than a Nigerian auntie praying at 5 a.m. And the marketing was elite level. Bro was selling dreams wrapped in granite and glass. These buildings weren't just homes. They were a lifestyle choice. If you bought into 360 towers, you weren't just buying square footage, you were buying status. He was targeting the creme de la creme. Oil execs, returnees with foreign accents, politicians looking for their 4th house in Ikyoi, diaspora folks who had been saving up for years and were finally ready to invest back home. If you were rich and wanted everyone to know it, this was your address. But let's not lie, the vision was beautiful. The renders looked like something straight out of Miami. It had that clean, glossy look. Everyone who saw it said the same thing. This one would be like Nigeria. It doesn't look like Nigeria. And that was exactly the point. But like every great dream, this one had an end. A terrible one. Alright, so now we are at the part where the dream started shaking. Like, quite literally. So here's the gist. Femi Osibona got approval to build 15 floors. Simple. Clear. But you don't get to where Femi was at the time by playing by the rules now, do you? As usual, Femi decided to go big or go home. He said, 15? Nah, let's make it 21. Man looked at the blueprint and said, add 6 more floors. What's the worst that can happen? If only he knew. But hey, there were tons of red flags here. Red flags he completely ignored. One major flag? Prowess Engineering. A reputable structural engineering firm pulled out of the deal. These guys had been involved in the project, but reportedly backed out because of concerns over how things were going. For context, that's like your pilot saying mid-flight, yeah, I don't feel good about this landing strip. Peace out. Hops out the plane with his parachute. That would make any Nigerian take a pause. But Femi, obviously not. Instead of taking a pause and saying, maybe I should listen to what these guys have to say, Femi doubled down. Oversight, inspections, compliance. He didn't even seem to rate them. Reports suggested he actively resisted government inspections. It was almost like, don't worry, we've prayed about it, was the engineering strategy. There were whispers. Real estate insiders were like, something fishy is going on there. But when somebody is building 21 floors on one of the most expensive parts of Lagos, people hesitate to speak too loud. Power and money have a way of muting common sense for some reason. Unfortunately, common sense wasn't the only thing being muted. Let's fast forward to the DDay. The day a dream came crashing down, literally. November 1st, 2021. A regular Monday morning in Lagos. Just like that, the unthinkable happened. The unshakable tower collapsed. Dust, debris, and disbelief filled the air in Ikyoi. People screamed, phones came out, sirens everywhere, and in the middle of the rubble, the builder himself, Femi Osibona, was among those under all the rubble. The toll? Over 40 lives were lost. Breadwinners, workers, dreamers, people who showed up that day just to earn a living, gone. Families shattered. The whole city was in shock. The government quickly jumped into damage control mode. Investigations were launched, panels were set up. There was outrage. Headlines screamed, why was the 15th floor approval turned into 21? Suddenly, everyone wanted answers. But the answers had been there all along. They were the engineers' warnings, in the approval documents, in the ignored inspections. It wasn't just a building that collapsed. It was a system of ego, shortcuts, and unchecked ambition. Because here's the brutal truth. A tower of dreams built without listening to professionals is just a disaster waiting to happen. Just like that, the great Femi Osibona was gone. Gone for good. Or was he? Now, I know this sounds like something out of a Nollywood Netflix special, but some people genuinely believe Femi Osibona never died. You heard right. After the tower collapsed and the dust settled, literally, people started asking questions. And not small questions like, was it windy that day? Did this man fake his death type questions? And as crazy as these conspiracy theories may sound, after hearing what I'm about to share next, they may have a point. Let's start with the weird part. Body identification delays. For someone that famous, it took way too long to confirm they'd found his body. And when it was finally confirmed, let's just say it didn't exactly satisfy the skeptics. Some said the body was badly damaged. Others exclaimed that it was unrecognizable. A few even whispered that it wasn't him at all. And just like that, conspiracy theories had their fill. No pictures, no funeral, just vibes. Why would he fake his death, you might ask? Well, maybe to dodge financial heat. Remember, Femi wasn't just building towers. He was dealing with investors, partners, and serious bank loans. If things were falling apart behind the scenes, and it seems they were, then skipping town with a new passport might have felt easier than explaining why 24 floors crashed on a 15-floor permit. There's also the part about insurance fraud. Like, what if the whole thing was part of a payout scheme? You know, build it, overbuild it, collapse it, then disappear. It's a dark thought, but these are the kind of possibilities people are floating. Then there's the eyewitness madness. Some said he was seen alive days after. Others claim he was never even on site that morning. You'd think that with a man that recognizable, things would be clear. But no, in true Naija fashion, contradictions everywhere. So we have to ask the million-dollar question. If Femi Osibona is still alive, who stands to gain? He gets a clean slate, allegedly. Debtors are left chasing ghosts. Insurers and investors screwed or stuck. And if he's really gone, well, then a man died trying to build something great. And we still have a system that enabled a collapse. Either way, someone paid the ultimate price. This raises another important question. Was the building even insured? There's no official document out to the public, but for a project that size, it should have had some kind of coverage. Problem is, insurance only works when you follow the rules. And when you build 6 extra floors over the approved limit, well, good luck claiming anything. But let's just say he had insurance. Would they pay out? Highly unlikely. Insurance companies don't play with building code violations. That's like trying to collect car insurance when you were drag racing blindfolded. No insurance wants that smoke. But imagine this. What if someone faked their death just to trigger a life insurance payout? Yeah, that's the kind of theory that's got people squinting. If the collapse was intentional, against speculation, not accusation, it could have been a financial escape hatch. Which leads us to the next problem. Is Nigeria's insurance sector even ready for this kind of drama? I don't think so. Let's be honest. Our system struggles with basic vehicle claims. So a multi-billion naira luxury tower collapse with death, missing bodies, and legal chaos. That's Game of Thrones Ikyoi edition. Still, this tragedy might be the wake-up call Nigeria's insurance and real estate sectors needed. People are now asking, should real estate insurance be mandatory? Who's really liable when these things happen? And most importantly, who's watching the watchmen? Because whether Femi is alive, dead, or sipping coconut water in Cape Verde, under a new name, no less, the lesson is clear. Big dreams need solid foundations, and not just the concrete kind. This whole tragedy also shines a harsh light on something we rarely talk about in Nigerian real estate: insurance. Most people don't insure their property properly here. For many, insurance is a luxury or an afterthought, if they even bother with it at all, that is. After Ikyoi, everyone had to stop and ask, what happens when a multi-billion naira structure falls? Who pays? Who's protected? The tragedy exposed a major vacuum and possibly a huge opportunity. Because if buildings of this size and ambition are going up, then we better have an insurance industry that's strong enough to handle the risks. There's actually a real market here for property developers, insurers, and investors to come together and build something solid, not just financially, but socially. Real estate insurance could protect not just rich developers, but tenants, workers, and the surrounding community from sudden loss. It could be a real tool for community resilience. Look, it's not like Lagos State is asleep at the wheel. If anything, this whole disaster put pressure on the government to get serious about enforcement and regulation. There's been more buzz around safety, compliance, building inspection, and digitalizing approvals. It's a tough landscape, no doubt. But this is where collaboration comes in. Government, developers, insurers, professionals, and even media players need to move in sync. That's where our own expertise comes in too. Bridging gaps and making sure no one's flying blind anymore. Because at the end of the day, if you want to build in Lagos, and not just physically build, but build something that lasts, you have to play smart. Listen to the right voices. And stop assuming that hope is a business strategy. Hope is good, but in Nigeria, due diligence is better. Please share your thoughts in the comments about this matter. Subscribe, like the video. See you in the next one.